This is a Cameroon Journal editorial titled, "Is there any reason why we keep on believing in dialogue?" Again, the subject is there any reason why we keep on believing in dialogue? On Friday, August 11, one Intung Oliver, a Southern Cameroonian arriving Yaoundé airport from Japan, was picked up by elements of La République du Cameroon forces, and as we speak, his whereabouts remain unknown. Prior to that, on August 8, another gentleman by the name of Fonja Hansen Moki, a broadcaster in Bamenda, was also picked up around Mbengui Road by same forces of La République du Cameroon. And as we report, his whereabouts too still remain unknown. Last week, video footage emerged from an underground cell cited to be the premises of the National Gendarmerie headquarters in Yaoundé, showing abducted, brutalized, and demoralized Southern Cameroonians, some crying and trying to wipe their tears on camera, while others tried to hold their tears in the squalor of the arbor that houses them without windows, no lighting, and no water. Until those images emerged, most of their family members had no idea where their husbands and loved ones were. And what about the case of Justice Anya Paul? He has been made to waste in jail, going to 7 months now, and not even in a single occasion has he been called or summoned to court, or at least charged with a crime. There are journalists too chained and wasting in the filthiness that is Kondenge prison in Yaoundé. And their only crime is that they are Southern Cameroonian journalists who didn't have the stomach to contain the brutality of La République du Cameroon on their people. All over the Southern Cameroons, surveillance cameras have been erected to monitor all of us, as if to suggest that we are all a bunch of perpetual offenders. Everywhere, gendarmes, police, artillery, and of course the army, they fill our streets, combat ready to arrest and brutalize us, even without any provocation. At the Yaoundé and Douala airports, if you are a Southern Cameroonian living in the diaspora, chances are that you may never come home again, not too soon or not so soon, because your names have been entered into the computers of La République du Cameroon and they are monitoring you at the airport. In the coming days, we at the Cameroon Journal have also learned that internet service in the Southern Cameroons will be cut off and a state of emergency implemented in all of Southern Cameroons to enforce school resumption by La République du Cameroon. When this struggle first began, all we asked for was meaningful reforms, but in their stead, they choose to give us a useless bilingualism commission, a refurbished airport in Bamenda, and surveillance cameras to monitor all of us. Other concessions remain largely on paper, as is always the case with Bia's promises. Mr. President, what became of your National Bilingualism Commission? It is now more than 6 months since you created it. Was it just another window dressing facade created to appease the wrath of Anglophone Cameroonians? Tell us where that commission has been to, and what has it done or achieved since it was created? The commission has yet to move a stone, talk less of sitting in a single session. And you, Mr. President, embarks on another window dressing adventure, sending your surrogates around the world to convince us that some dialogue is the way to solving the current gridlock. How should we How can we believe you, sir? Forget about the Bilingualism Commission. The crisis is now in its 11th month, and the one who calls himself head of state and president of the one and indivisible Cameroon has not for once come out to call a press conference or issue a communique addressing some of the demands or explain to southern Cameroonians how he is trying to resolve the crisis. At the Cameroon Journal, we feel strongly that if overthrowing Paul Biya would have resolved the southern Cameroon crisis, we would indeed encourage a palace coup. But Mr. Biya has proven in unmistakable terms again and again that he is not in charge, that he is not in control in Cameroon. For where in the world does a president see part of his country in fire and doesn't come out to personally address the people? Where in the world does a president ignore a section of his country for this long and yet goes around referring to the country as one and indivisible? Where in the world does a leader has the entire church in his country against him and doesn't step out to address it? Where in the world have schools and courts been shut down this long as in the southern Cameroons, and a leader doesn't step out to popularly address the situation? Is President Biya still alive and in charge, as his surrogates want us to believe? If he is truly still alive and in charge, why can Paul Biya for once not come out and demonstrate responsibility and courage in addressing the crisis in his country, the crisis in Cameroon? Or should his silence be construed to mean that he really doesn't consider southern Cameroonians as part of Cameroon anymore? When they keep on arresting, brutalizing our people, and keeping them in underground cells, when they refuse to give some trial and others a fair trial, when we ask for meaningful reforms and they give us a bilingualism commission, surveillance cameras, and a useless airport in Bamenda, when part of the nation is on fire and the president cannot speak directly to the people, how then can anyone convince southern Cameroonians that dialogue is the way to go, the right thing to do? Who is trying to dialogue with who? How many more of our children, our family members, would have to be arrested before this dialogue is summoned? How many more southern Cameroonians will have to die in FTJs across Yaoundé before the dialogue is convened? How many more government ministers still have to be humiliated, like in the case in Belgium, South Africa, Canada, and Great Britain, before the regime convokes the dialogue? For how long will our leaders rot behind bars before they call for dialogue? For people like Julius Wame, Eric Chinje, Simon Monzo, and the many others out there who want all of us to believe that dialogue is the way to go in the current crisis in Cameroon, what evidence do they really have to convince us with that La République du Cameroon is indeed ready to dialogue with us? People who have lived their full lives and now living in the bliss of their retirement, like Julius Wame, Eric Chinje, Simon Monzo, and others, want us to believe that dialogue is the only way out of this crisis. They are the most dishonest and fraudulent human beings amongst us. Consider this, for example. Isn't it very hypocritical of them that instead of petitioning the regime to hastily summon a dialogue forum, they have rather embarked on castigating people who have since been asking for dialogue? They are quick to call freedom fighters names, but ask them how many times they have petitioned or spoken truth to power in Yaoundé, and they have nothing to show for it. If Dr. Monzo is that honest and zealously committed to this dialogue idea as he wants us to believe, can he tell us how many times he has scolded the regime in Yaoundé for defaulting and remaining intransigent on this idea? Why is Dr. Monzo and Julius Wame so focused on reprimanding and rebuking only the leaders of the Southern Cameroons as if they are the ones to convene the forum? Julius Wame and Eri Chinje are in positions to speak truth to La République du Cameroon. They were in position to petition the marginalization and the demolition of the Southern Cameroons, but they did not. When have we heard Julius Wame or Eric Chinje petition La République du Cameroon for the release of Agbobala, Fontem Neba, Anya Paul, Mancho Bibixi, and the more than 100 others in jails? Neither have we heard them petition La République du Cameroon against the militarization of the Southern Cameroons. We have not heard them condemn the torture, the rape and brutalization of university students in the Southern Cameroons. Instead of petitioning the regime, they choose to call true freedom fighters names, and they want us to take them for honest brokers. These are some of the reasons why we have no hope, no faith in their kind of dialogue. That kind of dialogue is no longer on the table, sirs. It is action time. The war has started. When you stretch a plastic rubber for too long, it is bound to cut into pieces. And that is the picture of the crisis and the struggle at this moment. Southern Cameroonians must continue to exert all forms of pressure, using every available means to squeeze La République du Cameroon to submission. Freedom is never given, it is taken. And should we give in today, we or our children will still live to fight this fight. And to the leaders of the struggle, the self-defense groups, and the door-to-door brigades, it is our suggestion here at the Cameroon Journal that in this war, it is not enough to focus retaliation only on infrastructure in our two regions. La République du Cameroon cares less if you raise down the Congress Hall in Bamenda. La République du Cameroon cares less if you raise down the governor mansions in the two regions. They care less if you raise down even the Prime Minister's lodge in Boya. And they care less if you should raise down all the schools in the Southern Cameroons. And they care less if you should erect 1 million Southern Cameroons flags in Boya and Bamenda. But they will begin to care and feel the heat when you raise down the Mongo Bridge, when you stop petrol and timber from going to Yaoundé and Douala, when you raise down Bonaberi Bridge and the regime's structures in Yaoundé and Douala. They will care when you raise down the airport in Yaoundé and Douala. They will care when you raise down everything that is French interest in the two cities. These calls for regrouping for strategic planning on the part of all defense groups, while all measures must be taken to enforce the school shutdown campaign in our regions. The real battleground should be shifted to Yaoundé and Douala. And let's see who they arrest over there. In this war, if Yaoundé and Douala are not made to feel the heat, then we may as well be fighting a lost war. Again, you heard this from the Cameroon Journal. You can read the scripts of this editorial later on at thecameroonjournal.com. And you can write to us at editor@cameroonjournal.com. Again, the email address is editor@cameroonjournal.com. I am Chris Anu, and thanks for listening today.